From Illinois Public Media News, this is 217 Today. I'm Kimberly Schofield. It's Friday, November 1st. Coming up, we'll listen to a conversation with Carol Moseley Braun, the first Black woman elected to the U.S. Senate. That story in just a few minutes, but first, these headlines. The Champaign County Humane Society will hold its annual furball benefit tonight at the I Hotel. IPM student reporter Ayoshi Basu has more.
The Champaign Humane Society cares for around 200 animals around the clock. Walking through the shelter, you can hear the sounds of dogs, cats, birds, and even find bunnies, hamsters, and chinchillas. The funds from the furball benefit go directly towards the animals' care, says events coordinator Elizabeth Young. She says last year's benefit brought in more than $140,000 to support things like adoption services and care for animals that arrive with urgent medical needs.
That medical care is also a huge focus of ours. It sets the pets up for success in their new home.
The event will include cocktails, dinner, and a live auction. I'm Ayoshi Basu, IPM News.
You can find more information at ipmnewsroom.org. People in prison can vote in Vermont, Maine, and Washington, D.C. It's a right that one incarcerated Illinois man would like to have. IPM's Emily Hayes has more.
Raul Dorado is serving a life sentence now in the Danville Correctional Center. He says restoring the right to vote to those with felony convictions would push public officials to respond to their needs.
The incarcerated community is probably the biggest group of the largest group of people who have the most skin in the game, yet we're not acknowledged as stakeholders.
Dorado co-wrote a state law in 2019 that requires county jails to provide access to voting for people waiting for their trial. People with felony convictions can vote after they are released from prison in Illinois and over 20 other states. I'm Emily Hayes.
A Central Illinois man has been awarded a Purple Heart and a Bronze Star with Valor for his, quote, selfless heroism. Alex Degman reports.
Chaplain Major Chase Wilhelm of Litchfield was stationed at Tower 22 in Jordan this past January when it was attacked by an enemy drone strike. 3 people were killed and more than 100 were injured. Wilhelm's superiors say he helped injured soldiers out of burning wreckage for hours and provided sacramental rites for the fallen. He says he still thinks about the countless acts of valor he saw that day.
Their stories are lost and will echo through the hallways of my soul. I just pray you listen the next time you talk to a veteran. That is my ask of you.
Wilhelm also received the 4 Chaplains Award, the Army Commendation Medal with Combat Device, and the Operation Inherent Resolve Campaign Medal. I'm Alex Degman.
Urbana voters will have the chance to weigh in on a ballot question that asks whether the U.S. should end military funding for Israel. Residents in Cunningham Township petitioned earlier this year to put the advisory question on the ballot. That was in response to Israel's ongoing military campaign in Gaza. The referendum accuses the U.S. of funding human rights violations. Atlas Karm is a member of the Urbana-Champaign Jews for Ceasefire. He says the referendum will put pressure on policymakers to end the violence.
While the Urbana ballot question is non-binding, we can use our votes to collectively send a clear message to our government that the voters of Cunningham Township stand for the dignity of all people.
Some residents oppose the resolution and say the proposal uses language meant to mislead voters. Urbana will also vote on a question that asks whether the city should stop investing in companies that produce fossil fuels. You can check out our local, regional, and national candidates and issues at the Your Voice, Your Vote section on ipmnewsroom.org. With the election just around the corner, many are feeling unsettled and stressed. IPM student reporter Anna Coe has more on how to cope.
More people are struggling to sit with uncertainty and discomfort in the lead-up to the election, says Megan Fernandez. She's a clinical counselor at the University of Illinois Counseling Center in Urbana. She says in an increasingly polarized society, people have lost the skills to lean on each other, which leads to greater isolation and anxiety. Fernandez says it is important to find your people.
Reach out to people more. I keep getting the sense that everybody's thinking like, oh, I'm in this all by myself and no one fully understands. Well, help people understand.
She encourages U of I students to reach out to the Counseling Center for help. I'm Anna Ko, IPM News.
Still to come, we'll listen to a conversation with Carol Moseley Braun, the first Black woman elected to the U.S. Senate. That story is coming up next on 217 Today, but first, meteorologist Andrew Pritchard with your forecast.
I'm meteorologist Andrew Pritchard with your IPM News forecast for Champaign-Urbana. Today, look for sunny skies with a high of 58 degrees and a north wind 5 miles per hour. Tonight, clear skies with a low of 35 degrees and east wind 5 miles per hour. Tomorrow, sunny with a high of 65 degrees, southeast wind 5 to 10 miles per hour. Tomorrow night, partly cloudy with a chance of rain after midnight and a low of 45 degrees, southeast wind 5 to 10 miles per hour. And for Sunday, cloudy with a chance of rain and a high of 70 degrees and a south wind 10 to 15 miles per hour.
Next time on the 21st Show, we are days away from the end of this election. With that in mind, we'll talk about incidents at early voting sites, we'll check in with our Washington correspondent, Linda Kenyon, and we'll talk about judicial elections with a reporter who's aiming to help us think through how we cast our votes for judge. I'm Brian Mackey. That's next time on the 21st Show. Join us.
You're listening to 217 Today. I'm Kimberly Schofield. While we're waiting to see what history will be made on Tuesday, it was 31 years ago when a Black woman from Illinois made history.
A year ago, she was the Illinois Recorder of Deeds, and that job is the definition of political obscurity. But today, Carol Moseley Braun has entered political history. She's the first African-American woman elected to the U.S. Senate.
Understand, my first obligation is to fill my job description, which is to be the senator from Illinois, and I'm going to work hard to be a good senator, the best senator this state has ever had for all the people of Illinois, and that's my first responsibility.
To reflect on her moment in history and one in front of us now, IPM's Kennedy Vincent talked with former U.S. Senator and former Ambassador to New Zealand and Samoa, Carol Moseley Braun.
Women could not wear pants on the Senate floor until 1993, and now we're on the verge of potentially electing the first woman president. Considering your journey in American political life, what are you feeling about this moment?
I am just delighted. I'm overwhelmed and very happy that Kamala has made it through the process this far to become the Democratic nominee. I think she can win based on what I'm picking up out here in the streets. People are enthusiastic about electing her, and I think she'll do a good job. She's eminently qualified for the job, and she can do the job. And I think that if we just kind of hunker down and gird our teeth, clench our teeth, and just keep doing the right thing and get the vote out, if we can get the votes out for her, she can be president.
How did you overcome that barrier in your race as the first Black woman elected senator?
One foot in front of the other, you just kind of keep going. You just have to do your job. My mother said, do the best job you can where you're planted. And whatever that circumstance is, you do what you can to change it, but you don't get beyond yourself. Just do the best you can where you're planted. And I think that as we do that, that's what I've always done. I've done the best job I can. I hope I've made a positive contribution to my community and to the people I care about. And that's really what it comes down to. If you just do the best job you can, and you can make a difference.
Was there a moment in your journey that affected you the most?
There were a lot of them, actually, unfortunately. I mean, there were times when I was treated so badly. It was like, why would you put up with being treated like this, But I kind of decided I wasn't going to be deterred. I was just going to keep going and just keep doing what I thought was the right thing to do and just not let people put me off my game, if you will, and just keep stepping and doing the best I could. And that's made the difference. And that's how I got to be this old.
You were the first African-American woman elected to serve in the U.S. Senate, and you know a lot about the firsts. If Vice President Kamala Harris were to win the election, what advice would you give her about navigating her first term as president?
I would not presume to give her advice about anything. She's really been more successful than I ever was. She's managed to overcome all the barriers and really get on her side, the people who might otherwise have been a real problem for her. But and because of that, I think she has the skills to navigate what is essentially a very contentious environment, an environment in which people are setting out to people are not necessarily trying to help you succeed, but really will do everything they can to put their foot out so you trip up and do something wrong. She's so far been really good at navigating all of that environment, and I applaud her for it.
Last year in 2023, you were appointed by President Joe Biden to serve as a member and chair of the board of directors for the United States African Development Foundation. This marks 45 years of public service. What keeps you motivated to stay in political life?
Well, I got 2 grandbabies, and they, in the first instance, I was going to just kind of leave public life, and then it occurred to me that I had a responsibility to keep going because whatever I do is going to set the table for them and for their world and their lives, and so it's my responsibility to keep plugging away and doing the best job that I can, and that's what I'm doing.
That was IPM's Kennedy Vincent talking with Carol Moseley Braun, the first Black woman elected to the U.S. Senate. She represented Illinois in the 1990s. Vice President Kamala Harris is the second. And as you know, she is running against former President Donald Trump to be the next president. A reminder, on Tuesday, Election Day, November 5th, the polls will be open from 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. And again, you can check out the Your Voice, Your Vote section of ipmnewsroom.org to see a ballot based on your address. And we'll have up-to-the-minute results on Tuesday night. That's it for today. 2 in 7 Today is produced by Stephanie Mosqueda. Reporting today contributed by Aoishi Basu, Emily Hayes, Alex Degman, Anuliko Chuba, Anna Ko, and Kennedy Vincent. Music by the Kilbourne Alley Blues Band. Reginald Hardwick is our news director. I'm Kimberly Schofield. 2 in 7 Today is a production of Illinois Public Media. Thanks for listening, stay safe, and we'll talk to you again on Monday. Have a great weekend.